A little bit early, so I won't start banging on just yet. Just for those of you who are in the room, I'm going to do the right bank wines first. So that's going to be jars 1 through to 5 and jar 8. And then we'll do all the left banks after that.
I'm sorry, Robert, what's that?
We're going to do jars 1 through to 5 and 8, which is the other right bank. It was typeset incorrectly. They should have all just been 1 through to 6. So for your first set of wines, we're going to look at 6 wines, jars 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and jar 8.
Okay.
That's the Merlot dominance.
A 这个包的。
Do you think I'll be able to do it?
Okay. Okay. I have burger.
Okay, we're nearly there. Okay, welcome everybody. Really delighted to be able to do this with you guys. It was a bit of a rush job putting it together when we first decided to get involved in the Entrepreneur of 2019 2 odd years ago. It was our first real foray into Entrepreneur. All the indications, I can take no credit for it. As you know, I don't do any of the buying. This is all Lou's trading ability that got us these incredible wines. And it came at a junction when prices post 2019 went up by about 20% across the board. And product has definitely become a lot harder to get as well. So it was certainly the right time to get into this style of into these sort of wines. So everything sort of came together at the right time for us. Just what I wanted to do first of all was just for those who aren't too familiar with Bordeaux in general context, I'm going to give you just a quick summary of the various regions we're going to look at tonight and the styles. And if you emerge out of this experience with nothing other than a headache from drinking too much wine and maybe a rough idea of what these wine regions do and what their particular characteristics are, then it's a positive thing.
Hello.
Hello. Let me just mute a few people. Okay. So St Emilion, Pomerol, and Libourne are the 3 right bank regions that we're looking at tonight. And of those 3 regions, it's number area 1, 2, and area 4 here, all Merlot dominant. Everything that we're looking out of these wines tonight from those regions are 80% or more in terms of Merlot dominance. Just mute. St Emilion really is probably for me my favorite of the right banks. To describe it best, I would probably put it as rich, exotic, minerally. Guys, if you don't mind muting, that would be great. Thanks very much.
Yeah.
Just a second.
I'm not sure I can drink any of it.
All right. Pauillac, by contrast, is Pomerol by contrast is more aromatic than St Emilion. It doesn't have the mineral component that St Emilion portrays. Instead, it has a sort of higher amped a context of flamboyance in the phenolics for me. And admittedly, these are all my own personal sort of analyses of these regions. Some people have different opinions. Libourne is a little bit to the east of Pomerol on the right bank. Higher concentration, but again, a notion of silkiness that seems to pervade. On the left bank regions that we're looking at tonight, Pauillac, Margaux, Saint Estephe, and Saint Julien, their Cabernet is the dominant varietal. On the right bank, it's usually Merlot, but very often can be Cabernet Franc or a combination of the two. On the left bank, it's more what we know as the classic style Bordeaux, Cab dominant, with the other 4 or 5 varietals that go into making up the famous Bordeaux style. And I guess Pauillac is probably the one that is the most classic style of left bank. Cab Sauv, Merlot, Cab Franc, Malbec, and Petit Verdot. Bad spelling, I apologize. And it definitely can be described best as the iron fist in the velvet glove. It portrays both that softness and lusciousness and indulgence, as well as form and structure. Margaux, very famous. Some people, it's like picking a football team. Many people decide that it's Margaux for them and nothing else. It's the same with many other lovers of these various reasons. I'd say I personally seem to follow St Emilion more than anything else. Saint Julien and Saint Estephe as well, falling into the category that we mentioned before. So what I'd like to do now is just amble through the various wines that we're looking at. I'd like to do, as you'll see, the right banks. So jar 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and jar 8. I'd like to look at all those side by side with you. Mainly because they're right bank and they're all 80% or more Merlot and Cab Franc. So if you wouldn't mind pulling those together, that would be quite useful. I think the best way to start with so much wine is probably just to have a look at the phenolics first. So just have a sniff of those six glasses and 6 jars and see what you think. I don't know how many wine glasses you all have at your house, but I don't have 12 anymore. I break them too often. So at some point, I'm going to have to do a sacrifice in favor of the left bank. My first impression when I was opening them this morning with the guys is that the right bank wines, and it sort of makes sense, right? The right bank wines are all a lot more expressive at this early stage. And I need to sort of mention just very briefly about that. We're looking at these wines way too soon. But my overall impression of the right banks are a little bit like I remember the 2009s when they first came out. They have that sort of energy and activity and a fair degree of softness already and approachability. Left bank, not so much. Fair degree of variance in the noses. I'd say for me, the Rouget is probably on the nose the most shy of the 6. The Mangot is almost all Merlot and a little bit of Franc. Claire, open those jars as soon as possible. Everything was opened at 9 o'clock this morning, double decanted, put into jars, and the decanting process probably took about 2.5 hours or so. So these wines have seen a fair bit of time already, but they're so young, they can benefit from as much air as you want to give them.
Sorry, Robert. How long do you actually decant?
How long? Open them all now.
No, I mean, how long do you decant them in the morning?
Oh, okay. Opened them at 9 and decanted them straight away, double decant into jugs and then back into the bottles, and then poured and left open in the jars because the decanting process and then the sealing process takes about 2.5 hours. So it's seen a lot of air.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Josh, you're saying that the gaff is shyer than the Rouget. For me, the Rouget on the palate is just super, super tight and super dry, whereas the gaff is already showing a point of view. It's got this kind of luscious richness about it already. It's not to say that that's, it won't change or juxtapose completely the other way around over time, but for me right now, it's looking that way. The mango is looking quite mangot. I'm not sure what the French pronunciation is. If anybody in the room knows more French than me, which is probably all of you, let me know how we're supposed to pronounce it. The mangot is showing quite, it's not giving me any length. It's getting me a lot of tannin on the front end. It's sort of performing the way it should for that priced wine at this stage. It's a function of a good year. I would say that it's certainly performed better ratings wise than the 18. But it's not showing too much of a point of view for me tonight. I really like the Gaffelliere. I really like the softness of it and the sweetness. And by contrast to the mango, it's showing a lot more length. There's also the sense of sort of roundness, in the mid palate. It's starting to already show a certain gravitas and a direction as to where it's heading. Yeah, I think if I remember correctly, the advocate notes for the Gaffelliere are quite closely aligned to the mango points. They're pretty much the same, whereas Suckling's responding a little bit more aggressively, I guess, in the Gaffelliere, and I get his point with that. And also, I think, I'm not sure what volumes we have. Some of these wines we're looking at tonight are less than 12 bottles left. We've been completely vanquished with product, with sales. I think the Gaffelliere also is in a sweet spot for me, and that sort of $55 retail spot. Can you also reference the jar 2 along with an? Oh, sure. Okay, jar number 2 is the Gaffelliere that I was talking about. You'll see the labels all up at the top there. So there's the Mangot, there's the Gaffelliere. I'm looking at jar number 3 now, the Clos de Ch. Don't know how you guys feel, but man, the texture, the palate in the Latour is very impressive. It's got this kind of shimmer to it already. It's got a smooth, round kind of elevation, resolution to it in the mid palate. I think that's really showing probably the best evolution of what we've seen so far. This is probably the most grown up of or resolved of everything for me. Not spitting that. How much does that cost? 70. Oh, yeah. We're heading up into the more expensive part. Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing, Alma. It's just extraordinary. I guess one has to tussle with that $15 difference, right? Really is amazing. Everything just in the Latour just comes together. It's just the palate, the structure, the form of the wine is there. I have super confidence in its longer term evolution. I have a much clearer feel for where I think it's where it's going to head over time. It's really beautiful. Yeah, it's all about that structure, Claire. It's amazing. There's something really refined about the tannins, right? They're just woven so well. Yeah, Alma, it's a good point you raise. I mean, the similarity in scores, and I guess it's to be borne out when people give those ratings 92 to 94 pluses. That means they're looking at in barrel. And that generally means that they're reserving judgment, and wine advocates very good with it. They'll go back and look at it again and again, sometimes 2 or 3 times, and re-review it. So one must always look when it comes to the ratings with a spread like that. They're not totally jumping in completely one way or another when it comes to the ratings. But you're right. It's also different. It depends on who tasted it, what date it was tasted. Barrel versus bottle makes a huge difference. And how you're feeling on the day. There's some wines that I'll taste blind time and time again with clients and love it on day one and not like it on another day. So that's why looking at it like this is so much more practical. It really gives you an independent view as a body of work in terms of choosing what you want to drink and what you'd like to buy. I'm just so impressed with the tannins on it. I think it's brilliant. It's got this kind of powdery softness, this kind of purple violets. It's all the stuff that I really love about St Emilion in that glass. Yeah, Alma, almost certainly when they show a rating that's a spread of numbers, 92 to 94, that almost certainly means that it's in barrel, that they looked at it in barrel before it was finally finished in bottle. And then once the wines are released, as they've been now, I'm sure there'll be another wine advocate rating. And they go up or they go down. They're completely entitled to do whatever they want with that. But it's at least it's an indication when it comes to buying on Primeur. You get a feel for what the critics are liking, what they're not. And sometimes the wine doesn't end up looking as good.
Actually, what I was trying to point out here is the person who did the testing was Lisa Perotti Brown for wine advocates for the barrel scores of 2019, but she has left
Yes.
wine advocates, and now William is the one that actually came out with the bottle scores. And I know that this Ponte Canet, there was a huge disparity because Lisa Perotti gave like 98 to 100, but William I think gave like 93 for it.
Yowza!
Yeah.
It's amazing. I actually did a tasting for some clients last year, and the theme of the tasting was when critics disagree. And it's unbelievable when you do some digging and you go chasing to see certain examples of it. They're sometimes profoundly different. 89 versus a 94. So obviously the person who tasted the 89 was having a bad hair day. So it puts the importance of scores in context, right? For me, anyway. I think scores should be used as a guiding star, but nothing to really hang your hat on. I always say to people, probably the best thing to do is to choose a wine critic that you like, follow them rather than following a broad house. So, for example, I quite like Jancis Robinson for Old World. I find her very conservative, and I like the way she writes. I like Campbell Madison very much for Australia, and Hugh Hook for the way they write, and a little bit less sort of pointy when it comes to the ratings. But it is a very personal choice. So, Alma, you're on the Rouget, are you? Somebody was writing about Emilion.
Yeah, the Latour, I mean, I pour very little so that let it breathe a little bit more. The Latour scores actually faster quite quickly.
Yeah, yeah.
Now,
They are changing dramatically in the glasses again. You're right. There's probably a little more going on in that Rouget glass. There's probably a little bit more intensity, possibly, of fruit for me.
Definitely. I like the minerality in that, actually.
I agree with you. It actually stands out. I mean, the Latour speaks a little bit of minerality, but the Rouget takes it to a different level.
Sorry, Rouget is number 5.
It's steadily north. I've got a feeling the Carlmagnus is going to battle a little bit as the ugly stepchild at the end of this lineup. But let's have a look. Nose is nice, kind of floral. Yeah, really simplistic on the mid palate and the back palate. Time will give it more of a point of view, right? But it's I think I prefer in that sub $50 price bracket. I think I prefer the Mangot to the Carlmagnus. I'm not sure, you guys will see online. In some instances, there's case lot discounting and case pricing as well. So, for example, if that Mangot is showing a case price of 45, then it definitely constitutes value. I can't actually see now and destroy the share screen to do that. But you guys will see on your own screens. I think for me, I'd probably discount the Carlmagnus and re-look at Mango over time. Yeah, Meeling, I agree. Just pay the extra money. In fact, the jump from Mango to La Gaffelliere is probably the least amount of money for the biggest increase in quality that I'm seeing in the lineup. I mean, the jump from the Gaffelliere to Latour is significant, but it's a fair degree more to pay. And I think it's almost academic on the Latour because I think we're almost sold out. I think there's less than 6 bottles left of it. Mark, they're all dancing around 14 degrees. I didn't write them all down, but I did notice them as I was doing the research. The Latour milling is changing quite a lot in the glass, eh?
Yeah, it is actually. So the thing, that's why I ask you, how long do you, so if you actually double decant it and let it like breathe.
Double decant, and I was very aggressive with it just to get as much oxygen into it as I could. It was literally a 180-degree pour to really give it as much air. It's always amazing once they sort of in a glass and the viscous level, sort of a small amount of wine with a large amount of air, how dramatically they change. Yeah, I agree. The Rouget is taking it for me as well. I guess it should do with its price point, right? I think for everyday drinking, that La Gaffelliere and pushing the boat out a little bit, the Rouget is probably where I'd sit. I like the Gaffelliere a lot, and the Latour. Probably those are my top 3, I'd say. Grace, you're absolutely right. It's just pirouetting the flavor profile. Yeah, I agree. The Sansonnet, especially with that chunky rating. Does anybody know if that was Lisa as well who did that 94, 96? I'm guessing it would have been. I'm not sure. Yeah, the color, when I was pouring it out, I noticed the Sansonnet had the deepest, most concentrated color. Yeah, it's showing, just re-looking at it here as well in the same way.
Yeah, it's Lisa.
Is it Lisa as well? Mate,
Yeah,
have you, what's she doing now? I read somewhere that she was setting up another ratings service. Is that right?
I think she's
Okay.
setting up this thing called Wine Independent.
Oh, okay. So it's as a wine critic.
Yeah.
Okay.
But actually,
Nicole, yeah.
out of the six, the Rouget's color is actually a bit more oxidated than the rest, right?
Yeah. It's got a little bit of a browner tinge to it.
Yeah.
And the Sansonnet, by contrast, is there's almost no viscous, whatever that word is, for the rim. I'm not seeing all, it's just dense color all the way around. There's beautiful velvety denseness to the Sansonnet, but for right here, right now, Rouget nails it for me. For long, maybe the Sansonnet's got Kelvin wrote it there. Just needs a lot more time. The density is the winning feature for the Sansonnet for me. It's just shrouded a little bit tonight. Yeah, Rick, the silkiness. Well, I'm sort of thinking of velvety. It's got the sort of crush softness and amazing layering and density to it. And I guess over time that's gonna open up and evolve quite a lot. Yeah, the Rouget has not much left in my glass. Just so as you guys know, I've opened up the premium seats. It's in a couple of weeks' time. I promised to let you guys have access to it first. Even less seats available because of function of wine. Lou tells me that he's gone back to the markets and he's got a little bit more of the 19 from the negotiants, but I'm almost certain the price is going to be higher. Alma, yeah, the Carlmagnus, yeah, it's just has no point of view compared to the others. It's a pity. I feel badly for it in the lineup. Oh, you like the chewiness of it, Kelvin? The thing that upsets me, and I think it's probably because it's coming off that Rouget, which I really love so much. It just seems a bit simplistic and there's no length to it for me tonight. So for the under 50s, for me, I'd go Mango before the Carlmagnus. Also, glass evolution is changing all the time. Are you getting some length? Maybe it's just me. Is anyone else tasting that amber? Yeah, it would have been in the email that I sent you at 6:30. There's a link to it. Or if you can't find the email, the online page is already open. If you go to that tab on the website, you'll see it there. Yeah, Kelvin, I'm vacillating now. Going back to the Mango. Maybe you're right. guess it's all about glasses, right? I've got these stemless things, and because I'm so hopeless with washing, I've got 4 different generations of them. So they're all different density of the glass. And so they're not actually identical. I need to go and probably chuck a whole lot out and start again with glasses. Yeah. I think I was unfair to the Carlmagnus after the Rouget. It's my trying to draw parallels, it's just never a good idea. How do they compare ratings wise? Oh, the Mango is higher rated, yeah. But again, barrel samples doesn't mean anything now. Are you going side by side, Mango and Carlmagnus, Grace? Okay. It's got to be said that the Carlmagnus has got better legs than the Mangot. Yeah, Claire, I think the San is it's the sleeper of the pack. I think there's a sort of darkness and a it's just not giving anything as much as the others. But what gives me great hope for it is just how dense it is. I mean, the layering in the mid palate there's a lot going on there. I think that, but for the dollars, I'd probably go to Rouget if I was in a hurry, and Sansonnet if I wasn't. That'd probably be my, if I was putting those two side by side. They're pretty much the same sort of rating. Yeah, Rick, when I was pouring them this morning, the Sansonnet showed differently to the others on the phenolics. I didn't taste anything. I just was checking for cork taint and such. It was definitely distinctive from the rest. I wasn't sure if I preferred it to the others. Certainly on the palate, I love what it's doing for my mouthfeel. But I like the resolution of the Rouget more. I don't know how much of a hurry you guys are, but I'd like to spend just a little bit more time on this, if that's okay. I don't want to rush to the left bank first. Yeah, Mark, I think the promise is there, right? It's just not, it's not giving it to us now, tonight. Yeah, really love it. Number 8, yeah. Yeah, I don't want to rush through it. I hope nobody minds. Even if you're bored, and come back to the recording later. I think it might be nice if we just don't. I sort of usually try to get everything done in 45 minutes, but these are such nice wines. Especially with the dramatic evolution, going back to that La Tourette. Yeah, if I'm looking for wine of the night, the Tourette is falling away, and it comes down to Sansonnet and Rouget for me. The one thing that seems to link all of these together as an exercise looking at Merlot is this beautiful unctuous softness that seems to parlay through all of it. I think that in other vintages, when I've done similar lineups like this, it's never been quite as obviously a feature of the vintage. I really love how it all hangs together, you know, looking at this predominant Merlot. Just the ripeness, the gentleness of it, I think it's wonderfully, it's really, really impressive. I've started to taste the Merlots out of Italy, and of course, they're going to always be different. But the 19 Merlots, the single varietal bottlings, are way more flamboyant than these. They way more sort of, I was looking at the not the Massetto, the Castellare, and the Petrolo the other day. Petrolo is amazing, but yeah, that Merlot somehow it's much more aggressive in its approach. Whereas here there's this sort of soft resolution that seems to emulate through the whole range, which is really great. That's the end of my Rouget. So you're saying 8 versus 5. Big price difference, right? Yeah. Oh, okay, I get your point, Claire. Yeah. It's almost half the price. Yeah, I agree. Sorry, I've just got an urgent WhatsApp. Give me a second. Right. Can anyone see if we did a case price on the Carlmagnus? I don't think we did. I think it's a flat price. Is the 9 a cream label? We can have a look for you.
It is.
Okay. The guys had to get a little adventurous with the numbering on the jars because we didn't have pre-printed numbers for sets this big. So I guess we're all kind of at the point where we think that the Carlmagnus for the value buy is probably the play. And then maybe we should do a quick vote for favored wine of the whole lineup of the right bank. So votes for number 2, wine of the night? Rouget. So that's all wine number 5. So 1 vote for the San, 2 for the San. 5-5-3. Latour, 1 vote for the Latour. James going 3. Oh, you're liking the Latour, James? That's cool. Jürgen, there's 3 of you tasting. You're swinging the votes. Well, that's good. That's kind of good to see. But there's some sensible comments. 2 sets. It's good to see that the wines are showing well for different reasons, right? That's really quite nice to see. You guys are voting for Sansonnet. Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
I think if you ask me 5 years time, I will buy Le Gaffe for like drinking in 5 years. But if I want something much longer,
Yeah, you're right. That's exactly the right way to look at it, I think. Yeah.
Rob.
Yeah.
Question: Which of these wines do you reckon is the most sort of overrated at the price point?
Oh, that's an interesting question. You know, I've got to say that when people start giving barrel samples of 95s and 96s, I'm expecting it to bring the thunder. And I think where these 2 are really, I'm really happy about them, is that the price point is really moderate, because there's a lot of other wines in 19 in the 95, 96 points range that really aren't delivering, are much more expensive, easily into the triple digits. So my argument is that I think it was Claire who voted 3, 4, 5. But yeah, absolutely. I think they're great. I think that the Latour ratings to price is the least convincing of the 2. But all 3 are well below what many of the others are giving for the wines.
Very diplomatic, Rob. I'm going to have to push you for an answer here.
Okay, my answer is I think none of them are overrated. And,
because you selected them. I mean, come on.
Lou on the line.
No, he's not.
Lou is dialed in,
Is he
isn't
giving
he?
you a TripAdvisor?
No, I don't think he's dialed in. No, I don't think he is. He's in the Hunter tonight. He's been buying wine for us. He's been a guest at Mount Pleasant all day, so he's probably quite close to the end of his day at this stage.
For his life.
Yeah. I think that when it comes to choosing wine, we really look for that ratings to price ratio, because we're an internet-based business. It's only when we start to look at wines in this particular context that you really start to see the warts and all. You start to get a better feel for it. And as I was saying earlier to somebody else, pick your wine critic rather than your general rating. And I agree with Claire. James Suckling is great for me as a marketer because his ratings are just, especially when it comes to Tuscany in certain years, he's really off the charts. I guess one should feel a sense of anxiety. Where do you go when you after 100 points, right? It's of concern. I've got to say that I've always enjoyed Neil Martin for Wine Advocate, and I think he's handling all of Bordeaux now, which really makes sense for me. And I like it as a South African. I'm particularly enamored with that because he does all the ratings for South Africa for Wine Advocate. And so having that Bordeaux palette with South African red, I think I kind of like that synergy. Thomas Allen. Oh, you're talking about Hunter Valley? Yeah, Mount Pleasant just got bought out. There was a split, right, with McWilliams and Mount Pleasant. And the new people who have come in, Lou tells me today, are investing big money in Mount Pleasant. They've just bought a whole lot of ancient Durif across the road for huge dollars. they're reworking what they want to do in the Hunter Valley, which is great. I'm really happy to hear about large amounts of capital coming in. So I've left the Sansonnet. I'm going to leave that Sansonnet till afters, and I'm going to clean some glasses, and let's take a look at the left back. So did I answer the question suitably evasively? I'm in the comfortable position of saying is that I don't actually choose the wines. I'm just responsible for selling them, which takes a lot of the pressure out of it for me. Right, left bank. Could we shift to the next 6? Yeah, we're doing it now. I just wanted to change my glasses. Left bank, we're here.
Hey, Rob.
Yep.
I'm sorry, I mixed all the bottles together. So there is a 9 and 6. One is yellow and one is white. Which one is the 6 one? Which one is the
The
9?
yellow will be the 9 because those are the manually done ones. The standard size one will be the 6 because we use 6 every time. So that should be fairly easy. Yeah, so this one, that one is the real 6.
Okay.
And the little yellow one is the 9. So 8's out, 9. So, whoa, what is the 10? Color is amazing. 2-4. And the Langoa. We have to have a 30-second silence for Langoa-Barton because we're the last of it tonight. It's all sold already. It's very depressing. Right, let's do the same thing. Maybe look at the noses first. Definitely in Cabernet country, right? It's just a phenomenal gear change. Yeah, the thing about Haut Batailley, Kelvin, is it just got such a phenomenal following, right? And the price of it just goes up. I did a 2010 Bordeaux vertical the other day, and it just killed everything else. The 2010 Batailley, just such a great wine, but it's very, very expensive. I think the replacement for it now in the market, in the secondary market, is the thick end of $250 a bottle. It's a little bit like Ponte Canet, 10 or 15 years ago, Canet was a respected brand, but not the $300 a bottle that it is now. Yeah, Barton's amazing. I'm going to put that out of my mind. There's no point. It's so good. Okay, Claire, we're now drinking the second set. So we're drinking 6 through to 12. We're dropping the 8 because we drank that earlier. So it'll be your second kit, Mark B, where most of the bottles will be. Much more variance in nose, right? In the phenolics. Every single one of them is a different point of view. Yeah, I'm a big believer, Alma, in Batailley. I really am. I've fallen in love with it. It's just not one that I can afford to drink too often. So I'm going to look at 6 and 9 side by side because they're sort of the similar ratings and the same sort of price. So the Bellegrave next to the Descent. Something cleaner, more minerally about the Descent. Yeah, 6 is not. It's not a touch. Well, it's hard to put 6 and 8 side by side, right? But just, I think the Descent has. If you're looking at just left bank, this is the second one. Yeah, it's the Blason de Ch, Alshin. And I think that the Descent, this is the Blason, this is the second. The Descent itself, price-wise, about 140, 150. I think that's where it sits. So value for money, totally, yeah. I'm leaning into 9 much more. Yeah, I agree, Kelvin. That Durfort's number 10 is good though. Sure. It's actually, it's giving you, at number 7, it's giving you the $100 worth, I think, in terms of bang for its buck, 105. The Durfort. Yeah, Josh, it's wonderful. But you know what's so impressive, and I think Kelvin mentioned it, that Blason de Ch next to the Vivens at half the price. Yeah. It's kind of convincing. Yeah. Durfort Vivens. It's first 6 to 8. Yeah, but Marky, 8 we're not looking at now. You should be looking at 9. 8 we tasted in the, okay. So tell me why you prefer the 6 to the 9. Do you find it more resolved? Is it more like finished and approachable now?
Hey, Rob. Yeah, I think so. Though I think the 6 is just a little bit more, I think to me, a better mouthfeel.
Okay.
The 9 is good, but I think on the balance, I do prefer the Bellegrave.
In terms of being a finished product right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, got you. I just like the kind of, with the 9, I kind of like the sex appeal of it. There's this kind of agitated component to it that I really like. It's probably, you know, my palate's probably getting a bit chewy at this time of night. That's probably why it's wanting
I found the 9 a bit thin on the mid palate though, not enough body there, I think.
On the mid, okay. Let's have a look. Now I hear what you're saying. I would argue it's giving me a sort of granite, like a wet rock kind of thing, which I really like. I like that sort of sleekness in the mid palate. So I'm sort of interpreting it not as being thinner, but being a little bit more fluid, a little bit more elevated. But it's it's just a personal preference thing.
Yeah, I think it's a fair point.
Yeah. Mark, what are you talking about? More floral in the Blason? Blason. What number? What's Blason? I've lost you.
He's referring to the Isen.
Oh, the Isen. Okay.
What we doing?
Yeah. Interesting. Would be interesting to look at 9 and 11 side by side, because there you have something where the ratings are pretty much, very similar. Lafon-Rochet, of course, number 11 is very famous and a fair bit more expensive.
The 9 is Isen's second wine, right?
Yes.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Which means that okay, I personally thought that Isen was actually pretty good.
Oh, the Isen. Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I mean, I'm just curious, like what the first wine would taste like.
Yeah. I actually immediately want to. I don't think we got any of it, but what I was saying earlier, I think it's about 3 times the price. I think it's about 140. So it's going to have to be really giving quite a point of view. I'll research that afterwards tonight and see.
Anyone knows how?
Anyone in the room?
What's the rating of the main Isen? Because you should compare the first wine with the.
Yeah.
Haven't came, yeah.
How the fuck can I do it? I can't even see from here.
No, okay, I'm moving.
If I
When
stop
you
the
key in-
share screen and look, then I'm going to mess it up for everybody. So I won't do it.
Isen is 94 by William in the
Okay.
bottle, but when it was barrel score, it was 94 to 96 plus by Lisa.
Okay. Any idea on price?
It's a different page.
Okay. Because normally they'll show like meaningless for us here in Singapore, right? But a recommended retail price of something. No, 150. Okay. That sort of makes sense. Natalia, is that a Sing or UD price? Can't see this and being, no, that's too cheap. Okay, well, maybe.
Maybe without taxes.
Yeah, bought in the tax-free zone off the coast of Singapore somewhere. Okay, well, that's a really good price.
Yeah, then if it's screw price, then it's without taxes.
Yeah, that's right. So call it what, just on about 100, right? Okay. Hi, Mark.
Hey Rob, what's number 8?
The number 8 was the right bank, the right bank that we had earlier. Remember, we swapped 8.
Okay, so
It was the last jar that we had in the first set of the right bank.
Okay.
Carlmagnus.
okay, got it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
The question is, with that Durfort, do you think it's delivering value?
I think it needs more time because it's so tight.
Mm.
I guess with all the 98 to 100 pointers, they all like it very tight and they want evolution over time. So if it's based on that sort of potential, then maybe it is there because I'm still getting not much out of it at this point.
Mm. I think what's drawing me to it is, again, a little bit like the Sansonnet in the first set. There's promise there. It's just deep and dark. It's just sort of quite brooding at this stage. So it looks like we've got a final rating on that Descent, the first top shelf, 130 at Millésima. Now Millésima, you've got to be a little bit careful of. Is that a delivered Sing price, or is that their ex-French? No, that's delivered Sing for Millésima. That's delivered out of France. Yeah, I like it. 105. I think it represents value. I think we just need to look at it in a sort of medium-term view. I think you're right with that comment. Now, Lafon-Rochet. You see, it's quite interesting comparing going back to that Descent, number 9 versus 11, the Lafon-Rochet. Saint Estephe is, it's always that region that's, the wine is the toughest. It's the one with the biggest muscles. It's the sort of, the most sort of irascible, certainly at an earlier stage. And you really see it there, the Lafon versus the Descent. The Margaux, the sort of opulence of Margaux, versus the rusticism or the rustic component of what makes Saint Estephe so famous. I'm not seeing massive evolution of the Lafon. I'm seeing better results from the Durfort, but it's 20% more expensive. Langoa, the St Julien is just amazing. And it kind of annoys me because it's just so easily my favorite. Yeah, we've gone through a lot of wine here. I think the thing about the Langoa-Barton is it's so evolved already. It's just so beautifully spun as a wine. It's just really, I'd have a really hard time leaving that in the cellar. And I can see why, because our clients just inhaled it. It's easily my favorite of the lot. I remember tasting Miling. I did a 2000, 2005, and 2010 Langoa next to each other, and that soft, the sort of cashmere softness of the mid palate, it plays through all their vintages. Now I knew you were going to ask me that question. I can't remember. Yeah, it's easily the favorite of the night. Really, really great. Has anyone got our website up? Because if I shut my thing down now, let me just have a look. Barton, I actually can't see it because it's already sold out. 85 bargain. Outrageous bargain. That makes me even more annoyed. And of everything that we sold, I think the Barton evaporated. Yeah, we're looking, but it won't be at that price anymore, Miling. It'll be closer to 100. So let's look at what we can buy. Kind of funny. Yeah. I think I prefer the Margaux to the Estephe, but I guess history dictates, right, that the Estephe just takes longer than Margaux. There's an opulence in the Margaux. In fact, it's interesting because the Descent and the Durfort are showing very different components of what Margaux can do. They're very, from a component point of view, they're very different from each other. All right, so shall we do a vote for the second set? And you're not allowed to vote for number 12. Yeah, Josh, I think for me tonight, Margaux nails it, but it's a characteristic of Margaux that it's going to show you that richness. Yeah, we can vote for 12. Of course we can. It's fine. we should probably just say who doesn't want number 12. Yeah, Langoa for sure. I'll send Lou a note in the Hunter and see what he can find for us. 9, 10, and 12. Yeah, I agree, Kelvin. I think at the end of the day, the $55 one from Desan is really impressing me. I'm not sure how much would we even have that, but it is really spectacular. Yeah, it's showy, Mark, but there's a resolution about it. It's not showy where I worry about how it's going to evolve. I think it's just going to get better. You know, often amazing quality. Yeah, in terms of shopping for value, yeah, I think I'd probably say the Desan for the value trade and the Durfort for long run. Although I'm a huge fan of Haut Batailley. I think it's wonderful. Well, guys, I've got to thank you all so much for joining us tonight. This was amazing fun. So I hope I can see you all again soon. Thank you for keeping with us during these online tastings. I think we've managed to start something with online tasting that I did a dinner last night for a bunch of people. In fact, Mark was there, and I really prefer this from a purely analytical point of view, getting the opportunity to really look seriously at the wines. I find that when it comes to hosting dinners and what have you, running around feeding people, you don't really get a chance to look at it in a more serious light. So I'm personally very appreciative of doing this sort of thing. So thank you all very much. Enjoy your weekend, and I hope to see you all again soon. Cheers to the Barton. So amazing. Cheers, Eddie. Take it easy. Mark, what was your vote? I forgot to see yours. Your vote X Barton. Oh, he's on mute. Cheers, John.
Hey, Rob.
Mm.
How you doing?
Good.
Are there any other years?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck, I don't know. Which are interesting.
You mean for Bordeaux? Well, you know, let me just switch
Whatever
this.
the number 12, what was the number 12? The Barton one, right?
The Barton.